It wouldn't be an MCU movie without interconnected stories, and who better to spin this web than Black Widow? Okay, sure, you could say Spider-Man, but look, we're not here to talk about webs, alright? We're talking Black Widow, connecting to Hawkeye. Caution for spoilers ahead. Unless you're into that sort of thing, you rebel you. Quick recap in case you're somehow unaware of one of the biggest box office movies of all time, but Natasha Romanoff's Black Widow, she dead. I'm not saying that to be insensitive, but her last moments were arguing with Clint Barton on Boromir about who could do a better swan dive sacrifice for the Soul Stone. And Nat just wanted it more, despite seeing Hawkeye's haircut. This left Hawkeye as the Avenger whose job was to avenge her loss, bring back the Soul Stone, and set the world back on course. But seeing as how Clint doesn't seem to be the public sharing type, it doesn't seem like the world knows what really went down on that rock. Cut to a couple years before the Black Widow film takes place, and we start to find out even more about the bond between Nat and Clint, while at the same time being introduced to Yelena Belova. If Marvel's anything, they're efficient. There's been a lot of chitter chatter about what happened in Budapest, or sorry Natasha, it's pronounced Budapeshhht. And though we don't see what went down directly, we do find out that it was where Clint Barton went hunting for Natasha, who was hunting Dreykov, the creator of the Red Room. Hawkeye made it all the way to the safe house as Yelena happens to notice what looks like bullet holes but end up being arrow holes in the apartment wall. Because for a secret agent, he really likes to leave his signature kinda everywhere. It was Natasha's final step in defecting to S.H.I.E.L.D. from the Black Widow program, and the two embarked on a bomb rigging scheme to try and end Dreykov, and they got to know each other real well by fighting and hiding from Hungarian special forces for 10 days in cozy little living spaces, playing tic-tac-toe, I guess. So Yelena knows all this, but as sisters do, she seems to take a little enjoyment knowing Natasha didn't really get the job done. Since Natasha never recognized Dreykov's body, Yelena lets her know that the Red Room program, it's still going strong with drugged up killer ladies all over the dang world. So the two embark on a journey of hair-swinging superhero poses to reunite their Red family and finish the job of releasing the Black Widows. Happily ever... oh no, is that Julia Louis-Dreyfus? So now that we talked about what happens in the movie, we have to talk about what happens at the end of the movie. Who are you to be watching a Marvel movie and then skip out on the post-credit scenes at this point? Like, what are you even doing? As we enter modern day, we see Yelena Belova visiting the gravesite of her sister to pay respects. And honestly, Florence Pugh does some solid acting work here. I know she's watching. Just saying, what you were selling, I bought it. Anyways, then comes the sneezy schnoz queen, Contessa Valentina Allegra de la Fontaine, which is a name so long that if I say it 2 more times, this video will end due to the time constraints. Technically, this was supposed to be the first time we saw the character introduced cinematically, but since Black Widow's release was pushed back, we first encountered, let's call her Val, in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, enlisting US agent. Luckily, it didn't really make a difference which came first, as it seems pretty clear from either appearance that she's recruiting a Rogue Avengers level team of her own. The new bit of information comes in what Valentina has in mind as an assignment for our new Black Widow. Time has passed since the events of the core Black Widow film and the post-credits with Yelena, mentioning being on vacation from her assassinating ways. The Contessa Valentina Allegra de la Fontaine, okay that's twice, mentions that it's an assignment Yelena would like because the Mark is the person responsible for Natasha's death, which implies this is not the first time the two have worked together. Once it's revealed it's Clint Barton in the crosshairs, we have our main event set up for the upcoming Hawkeye series due later this year. Now that we've checked off what happened during the movie, let's talk about what comes next. We've already explained in 2 other videos Yelena's bad girl run and how the Contessa is likely setting up a Dark Avengers Thunderbolts type team, so I won't go too deep into it here. Instead, let's look to the Hawkeye comics for inspiration. The Matt Fraction and David Aja run on Hawkeye would likely be a place to draw from, which I'm crossing my fingers for because it is honestly a top Marvel series. In it, Hawkeye is living a pretty normal life in his time off from his world-saving level avenging, and just kind of doing his day-to-day thing. He's dealing with training Kate Bishop, who we already know will be played in the series by Haley Steinfeld, and a big part of that comic run is Clint dealing with a rogue gang of Russian mobsters. So Marvel may just tweak that a bit to include the newly enlisted Yelena and her gang of Russian outcasts at the end of the movie. The action comedy of this comic series would be perfect for introducing Kate Bishop, really showing the human side of Clint the MCU leans into, and setting up a great showdown with the new Black Widow in Yelena. We could also see Clint sing his swan song and have a Kate Bishop versus Yelena Belova battle that eventually turns Yelena into a double agent that turns on the darker Avengers team to join the Young Avengers, much like her older sister's arc. Dark Avengers versus Young Avengers, Clint goes into the sunset, we get a new Black Widow, a new Hawkeye, and maybe, just maybe, Lucky the Pizza Dog? Still sleeping on Hawkeye now? Trust me when I say Matt Fraction's comic book run on the character is one of the most creative comic runs of all time, and personally, one of my favorites. What's an Avenger's life like when they're not avenging? That's the whole concept. So to wrap up, Contessa Valentina Allegra de la Fontaine.